निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्गोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगीव यस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ आत्मा कः स्थूलसूक्ष्मकारणशरीरव्यतिरिक्ताद्। You got it? Everyone is स्थूलसूक्ष्मकारणशरीरव्यतिरिक्तात् पञ्चकोशातीतः सन् अवस्थात्रयसाक्षी सच्चिदानन्दस्वरूपः सन् यस्तिष्ठति स आत्मा। So we have covered a large portion of this definition of Atma, and now we are seeing this Atma is so people are coming one by one. So Atma, which is consciousness, is invariably present in all experiences, and therefore it is not subject to kala or the time. Then the question was, okay, if it is not subject to time, but is it subject to a special limitation? I mean, consciousness does not exist in time. We understand because consciousness was there in present, consciousness is there right now, and consciousness will be there in future. I understand. So consciousness is not limited in time. It doesn't exist in time. I understand. But does consciousness exist in space or not? That is, I or Atma or consciousness, does it exist in space or not? Well, then we are saying anything which is specially limited is a form of some kind, and even if it is a no visible form, we can definitely say it has a form. And then second thing is, which we generally we have not discussed, but the thing which has a certain parts, made up of parts rather. A thing which is made up of parts, definitely it has a form, and it will definitely exist in space. That is, it is limited in space. Well, Atma is having no parts as such. That's how it is going to be defined also. So Atma is not having any kind of a parts, and therefore it doesn't have any form. and if it has no form, well, it doesn't exist in space. It is not limited in space, etc. Then there is another argument also we gave, that consciousness, does it exist in space or not, for that matter. If consciousness exists in space, then space becomes the basis for consciousness, and therefore consciousness would be definitely a object of the space. Like we saw, like a pot and consciousness. Then consciousness is a basis for the pot. Why? Because the very pot gets illumined. Existence of pot is revealed by the consciousness. So consciousness is the basis, and then pot is an object of the consciousness. Consciousness is the subject. So that is how when anything is an object, then that particular thing becomes a basis for the object, and therefore even if suppose a space consciousness exists in space, then consciousness becomes an object, space becomes the basis. And when consciousness becomes an object, then there another feature also comes out. Any object is variable, displaceable also by another object. Pot, suppose you say pot, then pot consciousness, definitely. Because pot is, consciousness is, so pot consciousness. That's correct. But then afterwards again clip consciousness, then pen consciousness. So pot is replaced. Pot, which is an object of consciousness, is replaced by pen, replaced by clip. And therefore, if consciousness is also an object of the space, consciousness is something exists in space, space is a basis, then in that case, a consciousness being an object, it is replaceable by something else. Well, we have already seen consciousness is something which is not replaceable, which is not variable, which is invariably present in all the experiences. In fact, in experience, the object of experience, object of consciousness keeps changing. Consciousness is never replaced. And therefore, if consciousness you are telling you exists in space, then you say something else exists in space, then something else exists in space. When you say like consciousness is also exists, consciousness exists in space, same way pot exists in space, clip exists in space. When you say pot exists in space, pot has replaced consciousness. Well, that will never be the case, and therefore consciousness cannot be the object of space. Space cannot be the basis for consciousness. Consciousness is not accommodated in the space. Then further is anything which is a basis, then definitely that basis is independent, and the object is dependent, right? Any basis is independent, and the thing which is based in that is dependent on the basis. Well, in that case also, if consciousness exists in space and space is a basis for that, well, consciousness becomes dependent upon the space. Well, and that is not happening, because if consciousness is dependent on space, space being the basis, well, if basis itself will not be there, then consciousness also should not be there. But we see ulta, we see reverse. Not that the consciousness is not, not that the space is not, therefore consciousness cannot remain, but actually even the space is not consciousness is. Ulta is right. What reverse is right. So consciousness is not based in space. Space is based in consciousness, because what happens is even the space is not, the concept of space is not, still consciousness is, that is the deep sleep state. And therefore, we should take it that way, that consciousness does not exist in space. Space is not a basis. In fact, space exists in consciousness. And therefore, what is the basis? That is independent, and therefore consciousness is independent. That is my experience. That is my experience. And therefore, the whole space exists in consciousness. Consciousness is independent. The consciousness is the basis of a space. Then what is the form of consciousness? Anything which exists in space has a form. It is limited in space. It has a form. But the whole space exists in consciousness. What is the form of consciousness? Well, consciousness is formless. That's how we derive. Well, of course, this is true, Swamiji, but now at least two things are there. Space and consciousness. Space and consciousness. If you go a little further, you will realize, if space and consciousness, two things are there, then each will be limited, That's how you are able to count two. When you count two, definitely you know the boundary of each. Boundary of each. Then only you can count two. Otherwise, you cannot count two. If it is one, definitely means you think that, suppose you are seeing only one thing, you are not able to count second thing, then that one thing must be all pervasive. Otherwise, you will definitely, like these two, you say one, this is two. How do you say two? Because you are able to see the boundary of each, everything. Anyway, so Swamiji, it's all right, space and consciousness, and therefore space is has a basis in consciousness. Consciousness has no basis in space. Everything is okay. But two things are there: space and consciousness. Well, I said if there are two things, then I cannot tell consciousness as a formless, because still space exists. Therefore, each has a boundary, and therefore definitely this must have a form. Anything which has a boundary has a form. But let's not go into that. Let's not go too far. I will tell you, I have given you in fact a method for determining the reality of a thing. Once you know that one is unreal and other is real, you will not count two. You can count two when both are real. If one is unreal and other is real, definitely you will count one. And therefore, and you know the examples. We have plenty of examples. Water and wave, you cannot tell, sir. You cannot tell me water and wave. You can only tell water. That's a reality. Wave is not a reality. Anyway, so in your language, in your parlance, suppose you can use some wave and water, etc. Well, it's okay. But in understanding of a reality, there is just a water. We cannot count two. To count two, both should have an equal reality. Anyway, so to understand the basis, to understand the reality between the space and consciousness, there is a method which we have discussed also. Anvaya Vyatireka we call. Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya means a co-presence and Vyatireka means co-absence. And we have seen that in so far as examples, many examples you can take definitely, and we have taken the example of let's say bangle and gold. Now same all the days, Swamiji, all pot. What are you? Your head is pot. And what? So anyway, so you can take another example, but that's also a stock example. Anyway, so if bangle and gold, yat sattve yat sattva, co-presence anvaya, yadabhave yadabhavaha vyatireka, co-absence. Abhava means absence. Sattva means presence. Then decide between these two. In example, decide what is truth. Then you find gold sattve, right? Kanaka sattve, Bengal sattvam, all. Suvarna sattve, Bengal sattvam. And Suvarna abhave, Bengal abhava. Well, ho gaya? Clear? Therefore, Suvarna alone is the reality. Suvarna alone is the reality. Gold is a reality. There, even though you tell two things, a necklace or a bangle and gold, well, there are no two things. There is only one thing, that is gold. And now let's see here also that between the space and consciousness, we have claimed that space is based in consciousness, not consciousness has a basis in space. Then we wanted to know the relation between space and consciousness. If still they are two, then definitely there will be a problem. There are two means you have seen the boundary of both. If there are boundaries, each has a form. Each has a form. Well, and therefore you are claiming consciousness is formless because the whole space exists in consciousness. What exists in space has a form. Well, the whole space exists in consciousness and therefore it is formless. But still you are counting two space and consciousness, Then my claim that consciousness is formless, limitless, well, that is not correct. And therefore decide the reality with the help of this method. For that, the based thing is, after doing this, go to Avasthatraya Sakshi, definition of Atma. And then we have found that let us take a waking state. Waking state has three components. That is a waking world. Well, of course, there is a time, there is a space, and there are objects. And you note waking time consciousness, right? You say, right now, Swamiji, it's 10:15 in the morning. Okay, nice. When you say this, or when you have a time in your mind, it's a concept, let's say, whatever, when you say or when you have a concept, it invariably shows the presence of consciousness. Because without consciousness, you cannot be aware of the time. When you say time is, automatically it proves consciousness is. Right? And therefore the time, waking time is, consciousness is. Waking space is, whatever this, concept of space, waking space. Right now what you are seeing around. Waking space is, consciousness is. And then waking objects. What are the objects in the waking world? All form and taste and sound, varieties of the forms. Thousands and thousands of, crores and crores of forms. Millions, yeah, here crore nobody will understand. Millions and millions and billions and trillions of forms and trillions of taste and trillions of taste. Yeah, consider, no problem. Every day new taste develops, by new variety of a dish. By new dish, some new taste. Consider. And then trillions of sounds and, everything. So many kinds of touch and everything. This is a waking world. Well, everywhere consciousness. But I just put form consciousness, taste consciousness, touch consciousness. Consciousness is present in everything in the waking world. In waking time, waking space, and waking objects. And same consciousness, that is I. Now switch over to dream world. Well, it goes to dream. It keeps aside. It throws away waking time, waking space. So vast space it is of no use in dream world. So consciousness as though throws away this waking time, waking space, waking objects. Anything, if you take it even as a trace, small, well, you will not have a dream state. In dream, you will have only dream time, dream space, and dream objects. right? Waking object cannot exist in dream world. Waking space is so vast, and the dream world, his whole dream world is here in one nadi, they call particular nadi, Puritat, etc. They call in, that is a description in the Veda. So in that nadi, the nadi itself is not seen. People think nadi, what is the translation of nadi? Nadi's translation is nadi, because it is not a blood vessel or something. Don't think these blood vessels are from the heart, all the blood vessels comes out. And Upanishad says from the heart many nadis come out. There are 101 nadis coming out. That's how Kathopanishad says, and that's how even other Upanishad also says. 101. Then the one which is called Sushumna goes straight, it's a vertical, etc., etc., whatever. So we feel that from the heart all the blood vessels are coming out. That's not. Nadi is nadi, and it's not a blood vessel. Anyway, or not a capillary, etc. And therefore, in such a small nadi, this whole dream world arises, along with dream space. Definitely, this space is not existing there. This time is not existing there. This time is 11 o'clock or 10:30. And suppose person goes to sleep right now and sees a dream and dream of a night. So the dream has a different time. Not waking time is not there. And therefore, basically, what I am saying is dream space and dream time are different. But when you say dream space is, consciousness is, dream time is, consciousness is, different dream objects, same objects, different sounds and different taste and different touch, etc. Anything. Again, dream form is, dream consciousness is. Oh, sorry, dream form is, consciousness is, not dream consciousness. Consciousness is. Because I am the one who was waking, now seeing the dream. Right? That's our experience. As a dreamer, of course, we give a status, that's a different thing. Because depending upon the object of experience, you give yourself a status. That's how it is. A person is one. Depending upon to whom he relates, he is given a status. When he is in the office, the person is called manager. When he is in the home and relating to wife, definitely he is a husband. So person is one. But names are given different depending upon the object of experience. So waking world was there. Same consciousness was called a waker. Now it is dream objects and dream space, etc. Same consciousness has got a status called dreamer. And then when I go to deep sleep, of course, I do not find a dreamer status or a waker status. Both are gone. And then I have a sleeper status, in which definitely that I am a very rudimentary I is there, even to experience so happiness and a whole blank thing, everything blank, in which there are no objects, no space, no time. And so total blankness also is experience. Then the experiencer must be there. Then experiencer you always is associated with the I. And therefore I also must be there. And therefore Swamiji, you should not tell there is no I in I is resolved. No, it is there. It is unmanifest and largely unmanifest. Its status is like that. It's largely unmanifest. And therefore it's a rudimentary form of a ahankara or I. And that is there. But anyway, consciousness is still there. Well, as a sleeper, right? Consciousness is there to experience the blankness, definitely. So you say there is a blankness, consciousness is. There is a happiness, consciousness is. I'm talking about a deep sleep state. So and therefore, it gets a new status because of a new experience, and therefore it is called a sleeper. Well, that's okay, but the consciousness, well, basically, which is I, is there in all the three states and unaffected by any state, does not take a bit of a particular experience to other state, a bit of experience from that state to other state. Please understand this. Nothing goes from the waking world. No, Swamiji, you are wrong. Because I am seeing in dream also, I am seeing you. Then you are there in the, and I am experiencing you right now, and that alone I am carrying in dream, and therefore you as a 5 feet 8 inches, you are coming in my dream. Sir, Well, that's an impractical thing you are talking about. A impression of me, very subtle impression, which is in your mind, comes in the dream. So it's just a mind, nothing else. Your own mind, and that too not the whole mind, not the whole mind, because the dream world indicates the whole mind is not awake. It's called Ardha Jagrata. So therefore, it's just a part of the mind. And that is the impressions also is a part of the mind. Memory is part of the mind, I mean, and there are much more in the mind, of course. And we are going to see that there are four things in mind. I mean, depending on the function, four names are also functional names are there. We'll see that. But anyway, so part of the mind, which is a memory, which is born of the experience of the waking world, etc., is there. And need not be this life also. You see in dream something of the past life also. So because you see something which you have never seen in this time, in years, this many years. So many things you see that which you have never seen. You feel that I have never seen such thing, but in dream you see. So from where it has come? It has come from the past life, and need not be true also, even not of the past life. Something of the something of today and something of the day before yesterday mixed together and been formed. That also is there. An elephant was never existent even in the creation with 7 trunks. From the scientific documents, we can see that there was no existence of a elephant with 7 trunks. And still you may be able to, we are champion, we can create. So it's very haphazard, and therefore a particular part of mind is absent there called intellect. Intellect is something which is deciding faculty, and it's a cognitive part, and therefore it immediately in waking state, if something is seen like that, you will say no, that cannot be. So that faculty is also absent. Anyway, in a deep sleep state, consciousness, whatever you experience, consciousness is invariably present without getting touched by any experience of either waking, either dream, either deep sleep. And that is proved by when it switch over from one state of experience to the other, it just doesn't carry anything. And therefore consciousness remains unaffected. Even though it becomes waker, as though, always add as though, keep a plenty of as though, like our groundnut, lots of groundnut people keep in same way, keep lots of as though in your pocket and take it out one every time. As though, Swami as though, time as though, everything is as though. Except Atma. Don't say Atma as though. You are not as though. Other than you, everything is as though. Anyway, and therefore, basically, waker is consciousness, definitely. Dreamer is consciousness. Dreamer is I. Deep sleeper is I. But I am not either a waker, nor deep sleeper, not a dreamer. I mean, they are not my intrinsic attributes. I am just a witness of all the three. Why we have taken this discussion? Because if consciousness is just a nature of Atma, which is invariably present in all the 3 states of experience, then it is not bound by time and space. Because when waking world is dropped, it is dropped with the time, waking time and waking space also. And therefore, I am free from basically a time and consciousness. So we should keep this in mind. There is no form, and it is even beyond the time. And therefore, space. I don't exist in space. I am free from the space. Indicates I am self-existent. Space exists on me. Space exists in me, and space. Therefore, space has its existence in consciousness. Consciousness is self-existent, and so from the standpoint of a consciousness or Atma, that is I, there is no spatial limitation, and therefore it is formless. But you were saying something different. Do you remember, Swami? Yeah, I remember. What is that? Space and consciousness. What is the reality? Well, Okay, clear? Space is dependent, space is dependent for its existence on consciousness. Well, consciousness is not dependent on space for its existence. Consciousness is self-existence, is real. And what is dependently existence is mithya. That's how we have defined before also. And therefore, space and consciousness, one is unreal, one is real. When this kind of situation is there, then you should combine. You should combine. What is that combination? Yeah, because there is one. If you keep like this, there are two. Combine. So it will be one. But then we should tell only consciousness, or we should tell only space. Yeah, that's true. That's correct. But we can say space is non-separate from consciousness. We can say that. Either you tell water, or you say wave is non-separate from water. One is unreal, one is real. So definitely they are non-separate. Just that. That's how it is. Not non-existence, understand? Non-existence. It is mithya is something different. Seemingly existence. So we are accepting the seeming existence of the space and talking to you. Then from the standpoint of consciousness, I can say everything is consciousness. Everything is Brahman. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. Sarvam khalu idam Atma. That's how it has been defined. Even by, I have told you in the Bhagavad Gita class, the Atma is all pervading. Then they say Brahman is all pervading. So Brahman exists in the front, and Brahman exists in the side, and Brahman exists above, and Brahman exists below, and Brahman exists on the back side, and Brahman exists in left hand side. There is a verse in Mundaka Upanishad. And somewhere else they say no Brahman. In Bhuma Vidya it has been told in Chandogya Upanishad. Not Brahman. You are existing in front, you are existing in back. Or somewhere else Atma in Bhuma Vidya itself. Either you say Atma, either you say you, either you say Brahman, or etc., whatever it may be. But that shows Atma is, that is I, is formless. No limit in space. Space is non-separate from the consciousness. Okay, now we'll have to go ahead. So space is consciousness, like wave is water, like Bengal is gold, etc. One unreal, one real. Unreal is non-separate from the real, etc., etc. And therefore between space and consciousness there is no distance. Please understand. And there is therefore there is no distance. One is non-separate from the other. And therefore if you want to use, you can use space and consciousness. But reality is space is consciousness. Time is consciousness. Any form is consciousness. Any taste is consciousness. Everything you can put like this. Therefore, when you say something, consciousness keeps pervading. When I just say any form means what? Any form of a waking state, any form of a dream state, any form need not be, no form. No form in deep sleep state. Everything is consciousness. Consciousness pervades everything. Invariably present in all. But then it is present and object. Don't say now. Don't say. Because anything which is what is existent is within consciousness. Consciousness is a basis. All objects, so-called taste and form and sound and everything, touch and smell and everything are non-separate from the consciousness. How can you say they are non-separate? Try to prove without consciousness anything. Try to prove. Try to prove the existence of anything. Try to prove the shining or illumination of anything without consciousness. Nothing. And our experience definitely says, even they are not there. I am self-existent. Even the time is not there, space is not there, object is not there. I am self-existent. And therefore, everything depends upon me. And consciousness is self-existent. That's the reality of everything. Everything is non-separate from me. So from the standpoint of a consciousness, I can say everything is consciousness alone. From the standpoint of a gold, I can say all these bangles and whatever rings and all are just gold. From the standpoint of a water, I can say all the waves are just water. From the standpoint of a clay, I can say all the pots and pans and jars and everything are clay. From the standpoint of a consciousness, I can say all are just just forms, seemingly existent forms with varieties of the names are just nothing but they all is just consciousness. And therefore, whole world as such is non-separate from the consciousness. From the consciousness standpoint, I can tell everything is consciousness, everything is Lord, everything is Atma, everything is I. You can say either thing. Anyway, so we cannot use, now let's come back to the space and consciousness. I become too enthusiastic. Still some person, is latecomer. Anyway, so we have to admit. Anyway, space and consciousness, that kind of usage should not be there. Moment I become aware of the space, there is space consciousness. The moment we recognize the time, there is a time consciousness, and therefore there is no distance between time and consciousness, no distance between space and consciousness. And now we will have to just don't try to visualize consciousness, space in consciousness. And it is simply an understanding. Whenever you try to visualize the space and that space exists in consciousness in your mind, you are going to be a failure, I tell you. There is nothing more frustrating experience than this. Because the consciousness is you, and you are trying to see yourself in the mind, which is impossible. Definitely you can see your body, that's for sure. You can see your mind definitely directly as a witness, that's for sure. You are able to visualize your sense organs, the condition of your sense organs in the mind, but they are not I. That we have already analyzed this. And therefore just you try to visualize the I, the consciousness in the mind, and then space exists in that. Don't try all this. Don't try. It is going to be an utter failure. But still we want conceptually this thing has to be clear. So we are going ahead in this little bit. And I will just give a few notes also later, not today. So nothing to worry. But try to understand this space consciousness, and space is non-separate from consciousness, and therefore all exist in space, and that also is non-separate from the consciousness, etc. We are trying to understand. So I am going a little ahead in this with your permission. See, we have seen that I made a statement. The last statement was there is no distance between space and consciousness because there are no two independent things. If there are two independent things, there is a distance. Well, but one is non-separate from the other, and one is unreal also, and being unreal or mithya, it is non-separate from the other because it derives very existence from this. Could you follow? And therefore, definitely, if derives existence from this is giving the existence to this, it will be always non-separate from it. Okay. So there is no distance between space and consciousness. It is exactly like if you miss the understanding a particular point, immediately bring the water and wave in your mind. And so water is definitely real, wave is unreal, wave is non-separate from the water, etc. You try to bring that example and try to compare. Water and wave, both so-called both, you are able to visualize. Same way I would like to visualize the space and consciousness. Never possible. The whole space shines in consciousness, that is you. But at least let me visualize the space. Try. Please try. You see, the mind has a thought form. And thought form is a thought which is very limited. So object of thought also is very limited, and therefore the all pervading space cannot become an object of your thought, and therefore don't try to visualize the whole space, and whole space exists in me, and don't try to visualize that it is all non-separate from me. Don't do that. It will be a failure. Just understand that the whole space is within you. And so, as I made a statement, there is no distance between space and consciousness. To make a little more clear, just I am asking you, what is the distance between my two hands? You will say, Swamiji, it is 1 feet. Because to cover in the camera, I have to put like this. Anyway, and therefore the distances between the two hands is 1 feet. Suppose I ask you, what is the distance between my left hand and space? What is the distance between my left hand and space? Swamiji, there is no distance. Okay. Distance is between 2 points in space. But is there a distance between a particular point and space or not? These are 2 points, 2 hands. There is a distance, 1 feet. But distance between 1 point and the space, no distance. Could you follow? So there is no distance between an object in space and the space. What is the distance between the space and object in space? No distance. Clear? Any object in space and the space, what is the distance? No distance, Swamiji. Therefore, all objects are in space. Could you follow? All objects are covered by the space. I can tell that because if there is no distance between the space and object in space, it indicates all objects are covered by space. Space is all pervasive. Now this is there. Now let's go ahead. You are there, I am here. What is the distance between you and me? Now, when I tell you, you means you as a body mind sense complex. Well, that's not correct. We know. When I say you means that just consciousness. But take it for a moment that you as a body mind sense complex, as a conscious being, this body mind sense complex, and I also as a body mind sense complex. If you are asking me the distance, Swami, between you and me, then between this body mind sense complexes, there is definitely a distance. Distance in space. Clear? Distance in space. And that distance has to be, if I want to cover that distance, well, it should be always covered in time, with a certain speed and certain effort. Everything will be involved. If there is any distance between two objects, then it will be in terms of space, and to cover that distance, there will be an effort, there will be time involved, there will be speed involved, everything is involved. And the distance will be always measurable and it can be covered by effort. Now, I am shifting little. Now you and me, right? Earlier we said one body mind sense complex, other body mind sense complex. The distance between always will be in space. But now I am telling you, you are an enlightened person, and therefore when I say you immediately understood that is consciousness. Suppose, because body is non-I, you means I. Body is non-I, mind is non-I, senses are non-I. So you have removed that. When you say you have taken that you as a reality, that is consciousness. And me means I have not understood that I means just a consciousness, but therefore because of ignorance, I take this body mind sense complex as the self, right? So between you as a consciousness and I, this body mind sense complex, what is the distance? Try to think. You, the consciousness, and me, this body mind sense complex, what is the distance? Very good. Please explain.
Basically, as a consciousness, everything appears in consciousness. So your mind, which projects the ignorant human being, also is in the mind, which arises out of consciousness. So there is zero distance.
No, that's correct. You have given a good answer, but my question is, you consciousness and me the body mind sense complex, what is the distance? You consciousness.
My consciousness, not my consciousness, this consciousness is absolutely everything encompassed within that consciousness. No matter what it is, the entire humanity, unfortunately it is not my real life experience, but intellectually everything is within this consciousness. It appears to consciousness, it's made out of consciousness. So
Good.
it's consciousness, everything is.
Correct.
It's just the intellectual.
Absolutely. Very beautiful.
Distance
But
is the difference.
yeah. So the answer what Prabodhji has given is correct, but it has to be understood. Let us understand in stages. Here, what he has told, absolutely right. There is no question. Now, the same answer will understand that in stages. See, what happens is, you the consciousness and me this body mind sense complex. What is the distance, I asked, right? Then you are consciousness, and for you this body is an object of consciousness. Am I right or wrong? It's right. Body is object of consciousness, you are just consciousness. What is the distance between consciousness and object of consciousness?
Distance.
No distance. No distance. Very beautiful. Like, just try to analyze the experience of yourself in a waking state. Take an object, any object. You are consciousness and this is object. Now, object is, consciousness is. Without that it is not. Therefore, whole object exists in what? Consciousness. Whole object exists in consciousness. If whole object exists in consciousness and independently it cannot exist, therefore this object is non-separate from the consciousness. Object is non-separate from the consciousness. Same way this body, that is I, and you the consciousness, for you the consciousness, this body etc. is object of consciousness, that is you, and therefore between this body and the consciousness, that is you, well, there is no distance. It is exactly like your body is within consciousness. Your body is, you say I am. My mind is, I am. Right? Senses are, I am. Means consciousness is. And therefore, your body, mind, sense complex, everything exists within consciousness. Same way, this body, mind, sense complex also exists within consciousness. That is you. Well, but Swamiji, that is correct. But still, I feel that my body is very, very close. That is non-separate from me consciousness. Your body is away. Okay. Away means distance. Yeah, distance. Distance in what? In space. Right? Distance is in space. Well, okay. My body, mind, sense complex exists in space. And body along with the space exists in what? Consciousness. And therefore, consciousness is non-separate from, the body along with the space is non-separate from the consciousness, that is you. Even if you say the distance, it will be the distance between, the distance will be always in terms of space, but the space itself is in consciousness. Try to prove the space without consciousness. No, Swamiji, we cannot prove. Whenever a space is, a waking space is, consciousness is. Dream space is, consciousness is. No space, consciousness is. And therefore, definitely, consciousness is independent, I understood. And therefore, whole space exists in consciousness, then whatever objects exist in space, the whole thing exists in consciousness. And therefore you can directly say any object in the world is within consciousness, or object in space. Definitely space and object of in the space has no distance, we have seen that. Therefore object and space has no distance as such. Even if you imagine a distance between object and space, it will be in terms of space. And therefore definitely being space being all pervasive, it covers all the objects, there is no distance, and object along with the space existing consciousness. This is just a matter of understanding. Never try to visualize this, that everything exists in consciousness and let me visualize that way. Never. You can think that way. Everything is non-separate from me. That is consciousness. That me should be real me, not this body mind sense complex. Otherwise you will not be able to appreciate this. So first you have to think this particular body and consciousness, what is the distance? No distance. No distance. Here at least for my body I can tell. And then definitely outside also everything. Well, that space and the objects exist in space, everything also within the consciousness. That way you can see. And therefore you are not actually within the body. This problem occurs, you feel that you are within the body. When you say you are within the body, you feel everything is away from me, that is consciousness, but that is not so. Not that I am in the body. Body is in me, that is consciousness. That's what I am telling you. And therefore, between space and consciousness, if you think of even a distance, well, that distance would be in terms of space, and therefore actually there is no distance. And therefore Atma is something which is consciousness, and well, it is existing in all the three periods of time, in all experiences or in all cognitions, and therefore it is Sat, consciousness, that is Chit, which exists in all the three periods of time, and well, or in all the three states of experience is Sat, because being existent, being invariably present, self-existent, that's Sat. So Chit is Sat, and also it is all pervasive, which includes space and all the objects in the space. All are just non-separate from me. They are unreal, they are just seemingly existent, and I am the one providing them the existence. I am the one through which they shine, they illumine. So consciousness is, which is Chit, is Sat, and also specially limitless, and therefore it is called Ananda. Now, so the definition, if you see the definition, you will find Atma Kaha. So there it has been told. Avasthatara Sakshi Akshatra, we have Sakshi, we have seen that. Then it is told Satchidananda Swarupaha. Satchidananda Swarupa means Ananda, which is experienced by you. Well, this I will talk to about you, but this limitless, specially limitless or limitless, just limitless, that limitless consciousness is well, that is you, that's called Ananda. And especially limitless means you don't think that any object appears and therefore that limitless consciousness appears. Don't think that way. Think other way. What is the way we have to think? Specially limitlessness means there is nothing that is away from me. That's all. Think in this way. Don't think that any object of consciousness appears and therefore the consciousness specially, which is limitless, formless, it also appears. And that is not there. The specially limitlessness also goes. Don't think that way. Specially limitlessness means nothing in the creation, in the waking state, in dream state, or in a deep sleep state, anything is away from me. Nothing is away from me. Well, it is not away from me means they are united together. No. Don't think there are two things and accidentally or purposely, deliberately they are united. Then someday they will make themselves separate. Well, Sarve Sanyogaha Viprayogantaha, that's how Nayayika says. Sarve Sanyogaha Viprayogantaha. And therefore that is or any kind of a sanyoga is going to result into viyoga, separation. I don't think that. Nothing is away from me means they are seemingly existent, like water and wave. Wave is always non-separate from the water, and bangle is always non-separate from the gold, or pot is always non-separate from clay. Same way, entire world, like pot or like bangle or like what wave, is non-separate from me. Then non-separate from means there is only one thing. That's what we are saying. Everything is one alone. And therefore, all these names and forms are of one thing, that is consciousness. Consciousness alone appear in varieties of the forms, varieties of the names. Just as the one clay alone appears in all the forms called jars and pots and etc., pans, etc. Same way, or one gold appears in all forms, varieties of the bangles and these, or one water alone appears in several types of waves. They give a name also, breakers and these. I don't know much names, but there are varieties of the waves, different types of forms. Some are very, very mischievous also. Some waves are very mischievous. Some are a little, benign. I mean, innocent or whatever. So they don't harm you. And some waves definitely, they take you in. Anyway. So varieties of the forms are there, varieties of the names are there. Well, there is one water. Anything which is non-separate from the particular thing, well, it is just that thing alone appear in that form. That's called creation. That is called creation. Varieties of the names and forms with varieties of the purposes, varieties of the uses. But it is of one thing. In reality, that is one thing alone. That's what the Advaita Siddhanta is. Anyway, so this limitlessness, but Swamiji, how can you say that limitlessness is Ananda? Because Satchidananda has been told. Sat means we have understood it is self-existent, etc. Invariably present in all the 3 periods of time, in all the experiences we have understood. And what is that invariably present is just a consciousness, that is Chit. That also we have understood. But limitlessness specially is called Ananda? Yeah. Because the same limitlessness manifests in moment of joy. That's how we give a new name called happiness. That's all it means. You experience yourself, a consciousness, in moment of joy without boundaries. Either it may be an experience of a deep sleep where there are no boundaries, or in a moment of joy in a waking state, etc. Also, a conscious being, experiences without no boundaries, no length, breadth, nothing, no kind of a lack within, no kind of limitations within. Well, so the same consciousness as limitlessness is experienced in moment of joy. Therefore, the limitlessness consciousness is called happiness or fullness. That's how Ananda and Ananta, we have not much difference at all. Satyam Jnanam Anantam you call, or you call Satchit Ananda. It is one and the same thing. For us, Ananda is not something, just an experience of a Ananda or a joy which occurs in the mind. Well, we say that experience is there, but what manifested that time is this same self, which is limitless, appears there. And therefore the limitlessness, especially limitlessness, that is the self, I, in moment of joy, is told as a happiness or fullness. And in our usual experience of happiness, there is always this fullness or limitlessness. And that limitlessness does not come, does not go, because consciousness does not come and go. Naudeti nastameti, it has been told, consciousness does not come and go. Objects come and go. Objects of consciousness come and go. They are variable. Consciousness is invariable. Therefore, consciousness does not come and go. And therefore, limitlessness also does not come and go. That's understood even by common sense. Anything limitlessness cannot come and go. Anything comes and go will be always limited. In terms of time, in terms of object-wise, or in terms of space, every way. Anyway, so consciousness is, if it is invariably present in all the experiences, well, definitely, and the consciousness is limitless, therefore, limitless also will be present in all the experiences, and in all experiences, whether it is an experience of joy or whether it is an experience of sadness. Consciousness is all the time there, making the sadness also is the object of consciousness, or happiness also is a moment of, as object of consciousness, and its existence also does not come and go. Limitlessness does not come and go because consciousness does not come and go, and therefore consciousness, Chit, is called Sat because the existence never comes and go, and therefore that's called Sat. The existence which comes and goes is called Anityam. The existence which never goes, never comes and never goes, but it is there all the time, well, it's called Nityam. Anyway, and therefore this Sat Chit Chaitanyam alone is Sat, and that is being limitless is called Ananda. Well, and definitely I have put one question here right now, and that question is, if I am consciousness, that is fullness, and limitlessness, but I don't experience. I don't experience. Only in the moment of joy or in deep sleep state. Well, I is there and no limits are there. That way limitlessness is there. In deep sleep I can understand. Or in moment of joy, as you say, because I am able to laugh very heartily. Definitely, so I am not feeling a discomfort or a lack within or limitation within. That also I can definitely accept. But if that is my nature, I should be limitless all the time, and that's what my experience should be. But it is not so. Moments of joy comes only one or two in the whole day, Swamiji. I all the time cry. What can I do? Well, and you say you are limitless and fullness and happiness, and that's your nature. Being nature, it cannot go, it cannot come. That's how it is. Then I'm not able to understand that. Okay, we'll see tomorrow then. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.